of gamification, and hopefully you can see on the screen that we have two examples of what I looked like before I started using gamification and wearables, and what I looked like only 4 months later after I'd lost 21 kilos, as you see on the chart on the right hand side. So the structure of my story is I'm going to talk a little bit about the background to the story and the kind of influences that I had that led me to start experimenting with the use of gamification and wearables for my own personal health management. So I'm going to tell you the story of how I came to use wearables. I'm going to give you some statistics about what happened over the last 4 years that I've been using a variety of different wearables. I'm going to talk about my personal view of the wearables on the marketplace at the moment, some lessons that I've learned, and perhaps tips and advice for other people. And finally, I'm going to look at the future of wearables and what's likely to happen with the technology and the impact on society. So about me, I describe myself as a serial techno-social entrepreneur and early adopter of technology. So I've always been fascinated by technology and how to use that to make an impact on my own life and hopefully to the benefit of lives of others. So on the image here you see a virtual me outside the physical Serious Games Institute and the physical me outside the virtual Serious Games Institute, meant to reflect my time as a founding director of the Serious Games Institute. I took the position in 2007 and I was there until it achieved financial sustainability and commerciality in 2011. I left to go back to be a freelance consultant. But even before that, in the year 2002, I was experimenting with the combination of community radio, teleconferencing and web conferencing in collaboration with the community radio station Harborough FM. We ran a series of early morning chat shows called the Radio with Picture Show, where we use this combination of technologies to reach a global audience, not just by audio but also with pictures by streaming PowerPoint presentations. And we had viewers and listeners from all over the world, and somebody was actually listening to us every day within the Arctic Circle using a satellite radio in a place called Nunavut. Today I'm quite actively involved in using and understanding technologies for personal health management, and I'm honoured to be acting as the president of the European chapter of the International Society of Digital Medicine, which was launched just over a year ago in Nanjing in China. I also authored a book which talks about the changing relationship between human beings and technology. The book's called Gadgets to God. It's not meant to be a religious book, but it's meant to really chart the changes that I've seen in my time from when I was born in 1949, when human beings had to use their skill and intelligence to control machines and develop machines to empower them, to today where I think we're already in a scenario where machines are already using their intelligence, artificial intelligence, to be able to control and influence human beings in ways that have never been seen before in society, and I think ways in which we're still trying to understand the implications and the impact. My influences are many, but I will just cite two, which are either end of this slide. The first is the influence of Thomas Cook, who was really the founder of the travel industry, and he started the travel industry in the 1840s, not as a vehicle for making money, but he recognized that the new communications technology of his day, the railways, could be a vehicle to help people to travel to new worlds and new experiences, which would encourage them to stop drinking. So his motivation linked the communication technology with his passion, temperance. The other guy at the other end is a man called Frank Bingley, and I came across him in 1998 when I was running a government-funded project called Community Commerce and Knowledge Network, which was funded by the government as a means of encouraging people to adopt the internet and multimedia technology. And I came across Frank Bingley because I began the project by trying to identify people in my community who were already using multimedia and the internet. And so I googled my town's name, Market Harbour, on the internet, and I came across a website at the top of all the search engines called Big Fern. And it was a bit of a surprise and a shock because I never knew about this website, and what was worse for someone who was trying to earn a living from web development was that whoever designed this website was better at designing websites than we were. Anyway, I sent an email to the webmaster, and Frank Bingley turned up in my offices one Friday afternoon, and I looked at him and said, "I'm sure I know your face from somewhere." And he said, "Well, of course you do. I'm your milkman." So it was my milkman who in his spare time built a computer from spare parts and developed this website about the community history, the businesses that were working there. In fact, about half the things that we'd planned to do during this government funded project. And so it was a lesson for me about the empowering nature of technology. So Frank Bingley's story has been told to many people all around the world, and I'm sure someone probably still living in the Market Harbour area, he will be really delighted and surprised that it had such an impact in different parts of the world. I've also written quite a number of articles on technology and health, including an article about the corporate impact of wearables that I wrote for the prestigious USA publication, the Cutter IT Journal. And also I've written a number of articles for the International Society of Digital Medicine's publication called the Journal of Digital Medicine. And the example there is about the future of digital technologies in the ageing society. So those are a few of my influences, but I'm also involved in a number of different projects. I'm involved in a project called PROPELS, which is organised by the Diabetes National Diabetes Organisation in Leicester, and it's designed to encourage people to take up physical activity. So every day they provide me with little prompts, SMS messages, and I'm encouraged to record my steps, and I've been doing that for the last 4 years. And I have to say that as a research project I think it has its limitations, mainly because it relies on people using mechanical pedometers and self-reporting their activity. However, I just like to mention a couple of other projects I'm involved in. One of these is called Pegaso, which I think is completed now, and it was a European funded project designed to use wearables, technology and gamification to tackle teenage obesity. And the same company that I work with, Milan-based Imaginary, also have a product which came out of a European project. This product is called Rehability, and it's designed to use gamification and games technologies and a variety of different devices like the Microsoft Kinect as a way of engaging people to use technology to monitor their personal health and also to help them to rehabilitate from things like Parkinson's disease or strokes. But it can also be used for prevention in older people by encouraging them to exercise in a fun way. I've also written a paper on gamification, a white paper on the theory and practice of gamification, and this includes really my thoughts on the fact that I believe gamification is a life skill which is actually embedded into our DNA, and it's not something I don't think that's unique to human beings. I think animals also have gamification embedded into their DNA, and anybody who's owned a dog or a cat as a pet will know how they experiment with gamification techniques, the look on their face, the actions that they take as a way of controlling human beings' behaviour. And babies are born with this, and as you've only got to observe young children, when they play together, how they use gamification as a mechanism for understanding the world around them and helping to come to terms with their place in the world, and also learn how to influence other people's behaviours. So I believe that we can view any human activity through what I describe as a gamification lens, in which individual human beings can play different roles, ranging from the hermit and someone who's not really involved, interested, never wants to influence other people, right the way through to at the top of the pyramid, the game, what I call the games master, the masters of gamification, who use game psychology and mechanics as a way of achieving their goals and objectives. So the gamification white paper is available on SlideShare. If you search for it under gamification white paper in my name, you should be able to find it. So coming back to the subject of this presentation, gamifications and wearables, I like to think that I've been a bit of a pioneer in the use of wearables and gamification. And I'd like to tell you very briefly the story of how I came to do that. Well, going back to 2013, some 4 years ago, I was involved in my passionate hobby of acting in a stage production called You Ought to Be in Pictures. And a couple of my friends who came to see the show, one of them said, "Dave, where did you get your stomach padding from?" And I wasn't wearing any. And another friend of mine said, "Dave, you're getting fat, I'm worried about you." That still didn't really bother me unduly, because I've generally been pretty healthy all through my life. I've only ever had one hospital admission, and that was for appendicitis. And I probably, in the whole of my working career, had less than 2 weeks sick leave in all that time. So I've been very lucky, and so somebody telling me I was fat wasn't really the total prompt. However, just a short time later, in meeting an academic in Covent Garden, we were having a conversation, and she told me that I should get a DNA sample because she thought I had Russian blood in me. So I sent off a sample to 23andme.com and came back with the results that really said that I had less than a 0.1% chance of having Russian origins. My family origins are from different parts of Europe. However, it did tell me that I'd got a 32% chance of getting diabetes too, which really made me start to think. And then literally a few days later, I saw on the BBC website an article about the jawbone up bracelet. So I decided to combine my knowledge and passion for gamification with wearable technologies to see if I could gamify my own health. And 3 months later, I'd lost 21 kilos. And I achieved this by walking a lot and also monitoring the number of calories that I ate. So I influenced my diet. And it was very successful, except for one thing, is that not being a nutrition expert, I neglected the value and the impact of protein in my diet, and so consequently my muscle mass was affected and I got flabby legs and arms I wasn't over pleased with. So since then I've used the experience and knowledge to continue with this campaign of exercise and diet. And although I'm considerably heavier than I was after I'd lost my weight, I have my muscle mass and my strength back. And what surprised me was the fact that it had a big impact on not only my physical health, but also my mental health, my zest for life, my passion for getting up in the morning and wanting to do things. And so I attribute part of this recording and broadcast down to gamification and wearable technologies. So you can see the results are really quite demonstrable. On the far left is a picture of me in another play at the Little Theatre, where I appear to be even heavier with an even bigger double chin. And then I've demonstrated the improvements in my physical and I hope my mental condition. So another couple of pictures with the same chap in Malaysia, a friend of mine based at the University of Putra, Malaysia. A photograph we had taken when I did a workshop in 2013, and a couple of years later, side by side again, you can see how much weight I lost and also managed to keep off. So currently I'm using 3 wearables. I'm using the Jawbone Up 3, I'm using the Activate Our Lives Buddy Band 2, and I'm using the Activate Pop. So I'll hold up on the screen. The watch-like device is the Activate Pop, now owned by Nokia. The other bracelet is the Jawbone Up, and you can see one looks like a watch, the other one doesn't really have any display. And the third device is the Buddy Band 2, which does have a display. If you press the button, it will show you the time. If you press the button again, it will show you how many steps you've done so far that day. And I use these 3 wearables really not just to compare their capabilities, but also to look at the different mobile applications that they use and the techniques they use to gamify my health. And all of them revolve around a dashboard which helps to keep me informed on my daily progress and also analyse my past performance. So these are some of the results and statistics that I've had over the last 4 years, and this chart really shows you, well, it tells a little bit of a story that in 2013 my average steps per month were 747,144, and I was consuming 72,713 calories per month on average, which was a steps to calories ratio of 10.28, and that largely explains why I lost a lot of weight. Over the years, you can see my steps to calorie ratio has dropped to the point now where in 2017 I'm running at a ratio of 4.74 steps to calorie consumed. And this is not because particularly that I've decreased enormously the amount of steps per month that I'm doing. I've managed to achieve 10,000 steps a day for the last 4 years, with the exception really of only about 5 days in all of that time. But what has gone up is my calorie consumption. So in my opinion, diet, if you want to lose weight, diet is something to focus on. You need to exercise as well, but diet will have a bigger impact on your weight than simply just exercising. So my personal view of the current wearables that I'm using, I would say that the Jawbone Up 3 is probably my favourite device because of the dashboard. It has a food database so that I record everything I eat and I get the nutritional value of that. It provides me with my resting heart rate so I can monitor. My resting heart rate in the morning is generally averaging around about 52, 53 beats per minute. It provides me with a lot of analytic tools that allow me to track all kinds of things and gives me daily tips and hints. The Withings and Nokia watch device, it does show me the steps and it does show me when the watch is working the time, so I can get an instant readout of the number of steps that I'm taking. I like it because it has a long battery life. The other devices have to be recharged almost every day, or at least every 7 days as a maximum, and it's waterproof. So those are all plus factors for the Nokia device. And Activate Our Lives, I like them because they're a UK company and they also have probably the widest range of personal health management tools on the marketplace. So the lessons that I've learnt are that walking has a big impact on physical and mental health. Diet, as I've mentioned, is the biggest influence on weight and the health parameters. Fibre and protein are very important nutritional elements that you should think about. It's very important to keep up your water consumption and make sure you're hydrated, and they do affect the amount of sleep that you get and the quality of the sleep. Alcohol is a big factor both on weight and sleep. and you should try and eat your last meal at least 3 hours before your bedtime. So motivation, I believe, is something which is very, very personal, and it's linked to circumstances and the level of control that you have over your lifestyle. And this is evidenced by the fact that when I started out on this journey, I was single and living in a flat, and now I'm in a relationship and living with my partner, and both of us enjoy a good life, and we enjoy eating, we enjoy travelling, and all of these have impacts